Hello, everyone. This is Giulio Coraggio, Vocation Head of the Italian Intellectual Property and Technology Department at the law firm DLA Piper. This is the podcast Diritto al Digitale. And today we have as a guest Stefano Leucci. Stefano Leucci has a very interesting job. He's head of data protection governance at Mobilisights. And Mobilisights, maybe it's not very famous in the consumers world, but it's the data company of the Stellantis group. So it shows how any company is becoming a data company. So it is fascinating, at least to me. Stefano, welcome, and thank you for accepting my invite. Stefano, apart from your current job, you have a life across data, because you even worked at the European Data Protection Supervisors, and then you always worked in the automotive industry. One of the topics I thought we could speak today was relating to the Data Act, because cars are becoming more and more IoT devices. And so how do you see the data sharing economy, how it might be boosted or it could or limited by new regulations like the Data Act?
Thank you, Giulio, first of all, for the invitation. Yes, as you said, my life around data was really at the forefront of this kind of discussion, and your question is very relevant to what we are doing now. I mean, Data Act is this unknown guy around the waterfall of new laws that are coming out of the European Commission that just ended its mandates and was producing many relevant acts. The Data Act is somehow the small son that everyone wants to look at but never have time, because it's something that still have to be fully explored. Yeah. The fascinating things for me is the fact that the data sharing ecosystem has been evolving throughout the years. I remember my very first experience working as a legal officer in the open government data projects around Italy, around Europe, actually. We were talking, of course, of non-personal data, and we were releasing those kind of data in order to be shared with other parties and used. And then all of a sudden, we started having something around personal data, and then the GDPR came out in 2016/18, to be fully precise. And we started a bit losing that part of the GDPR that was the free flow of personal data. That is in the title, it's very hidden. Then the Data Strategy European Commission came some years ago, and here we are with the Data Act. What is the Data Act? It's a kind of new instrument. It's regulation, first of all, that extend one of the most important aspects of the GDPR, that is the data portability. It's like a plugin for data portability. It's data portability on the steroids. What it does is, enforces and extend the data reuse feature of that specific free flow of data I was mentioning before. And it answers a clear question. How do I avoid reinventing the wheel? What if I already have, for example, let's make a practical example. What if I already have a weather station that is collecting meteorological data, and I want to send those data to a provider that helps me being more smart in the way I irrigate my fields, in the way I manage risks of diseases in my field. And most important is who pays for this data? Who are those data of? Who owns the data, to be, in brackets? How can agreements be done? And I mean, this is the simple example because we are talking about non-personal data. Now, when it comes to personal data, things get a lot more complicated. I mean, for me, just the fact that the data access is something like, guys, you can do it. No worries. We have the GDPR. Now we explain you how to do it. For me, it's a huge step forward. It is because, I mean, GDPR has been seen a lot in the data sharing space as a barrier, and has been even appointed as a barrier for innovation. No, but it's, if you read carefully the GDPR, actually, I mean, it's something different. It's something that just set out boundaries and guidelines for doing so. No, even Draghi, Mr. Draghi, in his report was included the GDPR. It's this kind of dark enemies to data innovation, but I think it's all about having a bit more courage, you know, in interpreting those regulations and by analyzing the deep substance and looking more to risk and not to the literal meanings and commas of each and every word that are in the law. We should have a broader focus on this.
Yeah, Stefano, absolutely. You mentioned the data portability, that is the backbone and probably the main concern for companies in relation to the Data Act, because if the data can be exported to a third party, then there is a risk that some confidential information, some trade secrets are going to be transferred from an entity to another. This is, at least, to be honest, the main concern of our clients. What do you think is the trickiest element of the Data Act?
You know, the first point I have in mind is how to understand the interplay between roles and responsibilities between the GDPR and the Data Act. You know? Because all the use case we cover, they cover in the Data Act are usually are very complex. No? Data portability, I mean, my experience around data portability was always a bit formalistic. You know? You have to have a process to port the data in a machine readable format, but then whoever seen someone really using those data, no, massively. I mean, for giving a true service in the true meaning of the data portability thing into the GDPR. When you have the Data Act and the Data Act start adding complexity, things really can be very tricky. Just think about the term data holder. No, that is the guy in the ecosystem that owns and produces the data from the connected device. I mean, this data holder is someone that has specific rights and specific obligations on the use of data. Think also about the fact that in Italian, data holder is translated the same as titolare dei dati.
Yeah.
It reminds me that titolare.
While it's a completely different concept from the GDPR concept. Yeah.
So you need to orchestrate the two. And also the second point to me that is absolutely relevant, and I'm fully on it, is which, let's say, what kind of data are we talking about? Because we are certainly dealing in the Data Act with product data, so the data generated by the use of a connected product, and related service data. So any digitalization of actions, events that are related to the user, and also the services that are on top of the specific products. But it becomes quite technical and trying to understand what data exactly, because data, the Data Act defines as something that is intentionally recorded and I mean, as an indirectly results of the user's actions. No? So it's something that needs to be understood and defined in the context of the full amount of data that the connected service, the connected product produces. And if we dig deeper, it's even more complex because raw data and primary data and preprocessed data are in the scope of the Data Act. But what about, I mean, the most of data I mean, each and every connected product, I mean, producer have in house are data that are inferred and derived, and those are not in the scope of the Data Act. And on top of it, how to define this. And here we have Recital 15 that says data that are created through complex proprietary algorithms. So, I mean, which algorithm is not complex and which one is not proprietary? No, in a digital ecosystem we are seeing now. So for me, this is the most complex issue now, and I'm taking my popcorn ready to see what will happen on this.
Yeah, but from an economic impact point of view, do you really think that the Data Act will be so disruptive? Because when the GDPR came into place, everyone was concerned about the portability right, because basically this is a right that wants to enhance competition, since everyone would be able to port the data from a supplier to another. And so that I was even remembering that there were people kind of trying to pay some customers in order to port their data to their company. But then nothing like that happened. I mean, or it didn't happen with such a size of events that everyone expected. So do you think we're really in front of a sort of game changer? Or, I mean, it was something that the European Commission, the European authorities had to do, but operationally will not change much in the European economy?
This is a great question, Giulio. I mean, it really depends on the sector and the field where you operate. I think there are certain areas of the market that are more data savvy and that are more addicted to share and pay for the data. There are certain economic landscape where data are really used without considering all details and compliance aspects. And there are others that are completely embracing the new data revolutions now, and they want to do it in a new fashion. I think that the Data Act somehow, to use a very inflated word in Brussels, the Data Act leveled the playing field, no? In the sense that creates a common set of guardrails that everyone that produces data out of a connected device has to follow. On the other side, it also creates a lot of bureaucracy around this, because somehow the most data savvy company maybe already had agreements and they had to renegotiate everything and be in compliance with it. But somehow clarify some big questions while creating others and leaving other questions still open, like who is the ultimate owner of the data, who is really having who really owns the data. No? I'm using the words owns in a non-legal fashion just to give you the understanding on how the market understands those facts. I mean, we are overly complicating a matter that can be quite simply managed through classical categories of the law. I mean, the good part of it is that finally someone have said in the Data Act who owns data. Who owns the connected? Who is buying the connected device also owns the data the connected device produces. If I decide to buy a specific connected product, I bear the risk, enjoy the benefits. It's written somewhere in some recital of the Data. But to me, it's finally, we have a clear statement to understand and read this phenomenon in Europe and clarify a bit the legal ground on which we need to move up.
Stefano, last question. Everyone is talking about the value of data, the data is the new gold mine. We should individuals should be charged for data. Do you think that we really are going to see some sort of compensation schemes around data? So you're going to be paid because you port the data relating to your vehicle from a manufacturer to another.
I mean, I'm not huge experts in the competition fields. I mean, but to see this more from the layman perspective, no. I think that we will see the emergence of a better competition based on a more meaningful understanding of the data subjects / consumers / the people in the loop. You know, I mean, I'll do it. I know this is a very broad statement, but to be more concrete. Raise the hands who have ever understood what this very vague consents in Italy talks about when they say, please share my data to third parties. I never understood who can consider those consents meaningful, compliant to the GDPR that actually says the opposite. Consent should be specific, informed, and so on and so forth. No? So, I mean, I hope that the data economy will move from something where when you buy your SIM card, your car, you check the consent, you forgot in a very, emotional moment, and then you you completely forget what you did. And, you know, without your knowledge, data continues flowing for 10 years on some unknown third parties to a situation that is really the opposite. It's a situation, I foresee a situation where the data will get more mature around a proper consent management where I can really understand and decide to which specific third parties my data are going and for what. I mean, the idea of the data act is exactly this, no? To come back at the starting point of our discussion. I want the data on my weather station to fly from my weather station data holder to the third party that provides me with smart services based on those data because I give you the consent. Please monetize the data if you want, do whatever you want, but I want to be sure that my data only goes there and not to any other third party. So this is the kind of competition, if I may call this, aspect that I foresee in the future to really up.
Yeah. You know what? I'm taking lessons, I'm giving lessons at my kids' schools in order to educate them on the value of data, which I believe in their life will become even more prominent. While I perceive that this is really in the data economy, in such a fast economy, people just put some clicks sometimes without really understanding it. And the problem sometimes is not on the side of the providers because they do what they are required to do. It's just that people are not educated in understanding. They just believe it is something annoying, and sometimes there is a lack of trust on who you have on the other side of the screen, probably.